Hyundai, and I am with Save Matatuck Inlet. And we are all volunteer, community group, grassroots. You know, we've come together really out of concern for our neighborhood and for the larger values of the North Fork as far as this development. We're going to talk a little bit about who we are, how we formed, what we do, about the project, our concerns, and as I said, how it relates to the entire North Fork.
And I'm Stephen Boscola, born and raised in Matatuck. Our family's been out here since 1961, so we've been out here for a long time. Born and raised right here on this, in the Matatuck Inlet area as well. So this is a project that gives us great pause.
In terms of a timeline, just a little bit about us before we get into the specifics of the project. So in August 2020, the South Old Town Planning Board made a positive declaration of significance. That is, they were alarmed about the potential negative impacts of this project. They made it official and declared it, as I said, they made this positive declaration of significance. We learned about the project from that moment. And within several months, we came together as a group to learn more about the project. And in particular, with this idea of learning about the project, learning about the facts of the project, and raising awareness, getting the word out. And I think the main takeaway is that it's a complex project. So, unlike some of the other developments in the area, there's a lot of moving parts. There's the water, there's the land. It's important to really dig in and understand all the potential impacts.
So let's take you through the project the way we've understood it from the DEIS. And again, as mentioned before, the information here comes out of the DEIS. We've also done some of our own calculations and analysis where applicable. But as mentioned before, the project is along Matatuck Creek, about a mile south of the inlet. It's the former Matatuck Inlet Marina spot. And you can see exactly where it fits in this entire sort of wooded area here. And as a reminder, this has been a marina since 1961. These last two sheds here were put in 1984. So this has been a marina for 50 years more, a full marina for 40 years. So not sure we'll be going anywhere whether or not this project moves forward. What we wanted to just make sure people see is this is the area of disturbance from this perspective. And you can see there's already been some sand removed out of here, there's been some trees cut down in here, and all that information is on our website. And what we want to make sure people understand is the size of this project. So this is about a 50-foot elevation. It would be removed, it would be taken down to about a 10-foot elevation with the removal of all that sand. And then two 45-foot high buildings would be set on that elevation for a total of 55 feet. So when we talk about, or when it's talked about here is the only impact to the preserve, and we'll get to that in a minute, we just want to make sure people see this mature tree line here as it relates to the preserve and just relates to this area in general. These buildings will be heated with 8,000 gallons of propane. And for additional perspective, these two buildings will be 4.5 times the size of these two little buildings right here. So there's about 69,000 square feet of storage on this property now. This would add another 101,000. Middle Road Preserve is a publicly owned preserve that was paid for using community preservation funds. Nearly 70 species of birds inhabit that area. There might even be some endangered species in there. The Middle Road Preserve is a treasure, as you heard before. People walk that all the time. Especially, it's a great place to be if you've ever been there in the snow. So Louise is going to talk about the DEIS, but there's a list of concerns that we have that fall into different areas. And this, for example, this is a project similar where there was trees removed and then an excavation
it was only half the size of the proposed project that we're talking about. So, and I guess just, I want to take us back to our community values. The civics conducted a survey last fall, and the results of the survey of all the North Fork civics were that the top priority of 90% of this community is the preservation of natural habitats. So this is something that is part of our culture, what we value about the North Fork, and I think it's important to remember that. So by removing over 600 mature trees, and that doesn't count the many, many smaller trees that will also be removed, it reduces the total forest cover of the Southhold area. There's a destruction to the forest community, the wildlife, the species, as Stephen mentioned, and the loss of carbon sequestration for the town of Southhold for everybody. It's also important to say, I think, as far as coastal resilience, this is something we're seeing in this time period. There's an unprecedented sea level rise, so this is going to lower in elevation right at the water's edge.
And so, while you look at the DEIS, as you're the public and you have your chance to comment on it right now, this is why we keep going through these concerns. So traffic is a very big concern out here on the East End, all the way from Riverhead, all the way out to Southold, Greenport, Orient. As you heard before, 40 trucks in, 40 trucks out. Just to put that in context, it's 9,000 trucks in and out, right? It's 4,500 full trucks out, 4,500 empty trucks in to remove all the sand. That's just for the excavation. That doesn't include construction, cement, tree removal, more equipment, things like that. The truck route will start here at the site, come up to Sound Avenue, go down to Northville Turnpike, and then down to 58, and then out to Riverhead. I'm not sure we still know where the sand is going at this point, but this is the truck route that was put into the revised DEIS, so folks might not have seen this in the original DEIS or in the project for when it was scoped. Another big concern is historic structures along Sound Avenue. These are old structures which might not have poured foundations, old glass, old framing, slate roofs. The vibration and the noise, mainly the vibration from these loaded trucks going up and down Sound Avenue, is of great concern to many of these structures. You'll see the ones in green are eligible on the National Historic Register list. The ones that are in yellow have been listed, and that's Halleckville and a few others. And so again, this has become a regional issue now. It's not just Mattatuck. It's the entire North Fork, it's Riverhead. If anybody saw the Suffolk Times the other day, Riverhead is now very concerned, having seen this truck route. Just a point of reference, in DEIS, this truck and this truck are considered the same truck in the DEIS. We want to make sure the public is aware that an Amazon delivery truck is not the same as a 22-wheel dump truck tractor trailer. It's going to be 9,000 of these. Just so we're all aware. 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., that's school drop-off times in residential neighborhoods, in this neighborhood in particular. Our roadways are already very narrow, and they're used right now by people for walking, biking. My wife goes out there with a stroller with our daughter along this road, and people run that loop in that area by Breakwater Road. And so we just want to make sure that folks are aware of the difference between truck and truck as it relates to hauling sand.
So the idea of, there's a category in the DEIS of community character. How will this project impact community character? So, I think the scale of these buildings is not in keeping with the North Fork community as we know it. These are industrial scale buildings. In terms of size, 52,500 square feet, 49,000 square feet. That's one and three quarters of the size of a football field. And then I'll just mention these pictures are from the DEIS, and perhaps maybe the most telling way to evaluate scale is that this is a door for a person to go through. So, you know, it's another point of reference would be there's a Hobby Lobby building, store in Riverhead. These are 2 Hobby Lobbies are the equivalent of this building. And I'll just mention the slide that you saw before with the storm, the weather. This is, you know, the project, this trucking is, will happen through, you know, the winter season and into the fall, and we are, I'm just going to say, who's done a small-scale construction project at home or some sort of renovation, you know, frequently things come up, they change. So a project of this size, as I said, with all the complexity, between weather, supply chain, the economy, availability of resources, the thought that this, you know, that this sort of impact on our community is going to be contained in the suggested schedule is something to think about. And I guess I have to say there's been a reference that there's some kind of comparison between these buildings that are set inside an excavated, you know, 134,000 cubic yards of sand, you know, taking out this entire hillside, putting these oversized big box buildings in that they somehow correlate to potato barns. I just want to ask, have you seen a potato barn this size?
So one of our last concerns we want to highlight, and we have many, they're on our website, I'm sure folks have their own concerns, is potential dangers due to fire. We've seen in the news recently a lot of marina storage building fires have been happening, and just want to clarify, so what's in these buildings are proposed 88 60-foot boats. These boats are made of fiberglass. Fiberglass burns rapidly, it burns hot. Those boats hold several hundred gallons of fuel each. The buildings will have 4 2,000-gallon propane tanks to heat them. And so they're not just sitting there dormant like most storage buildings. These are going to be active buildings, it seems, with the heat. And we're not sure necessarily, I guess, what sort of work is going to go on in the buildings, if any, or if people are going to be in and out, or if they just get locked. But with the propane, with all the other materials that are in there, fire is a big concern of ours. I believe the fire marshal has just signed off on the DEIS. However, we want to make sure that concerns are there for, can the fire department effectively put out probably the 2 largest buildings proposed in South. These would be, I think, the 2 largest buildings in South Pole, correct me if I'm wrong, anybody, but fire departments in neighboring areas could be called on to help fight this fire if these buildings were to catch fire. And that's another concern that we have. It's not specifically addressed in the DEIS. This is something that we've addressed, that we've come up with as we've reviewed all aspects of the project.
So I know we just have a couple more minutes, 3 more minutes, maybe we'll get a couple extra. So where are we now? This is basically go time. The South Hole Town Planning Board looked at the first DEIS, they said it was inadequate, it was resubmitted and revised, and so now the revised DEIS is available for public review in many places on our website and the town website. And this is the moment to get acquainted further with the project, your concerns. Most importantly, please come on May 15th and voice your concerns, 6 p.m. at South Hole Town Hall.
So the planning department in South Hole Town, just so folks are aware, there's a planning board, there's a planning department. The department's made up of 5 members. And at the moment, they've got a lot on their plate, which is why we want to get public input to help support the planning department and the planning board's review of this project. It's so massive. They also have to contend with the Matatuck Hotel, the Peconic Bay Winery Resort. I know that's been floating around, the battery storage project, which I think is hopefully on pause at the moment. But the planning boards have a lot on their plate. Your input as a citizen, you don't need to be an expert, as Louise will mention. Your input matters, and the planning board, the planning department will take your comments, especially if you can't make the meeting on the 15th or you want to do both. Write comments in, the comment period is open. And you can start getting your comments emailing Mark Terry, Brian Cummings. Their email addresses are also on our website under the Take Action section.
So I know we just have one more minute here, maybe a little extra, but we were invited here. We're a grassroots community organization, not unlike the civics. Our goal has been to achieve awareness, spread the word, so that people are engaged and understand what's going on here, that this just doesn't happen overnight without their knowledge. So we've been working, I just want to say, the components of providing the vehicle for community voice to be involved in government is a partnership. Our voice is important. We found that we need to get the word out through engagement with other organizations, letters to the editor you may have read. We have our piece in this week's Suffolk Times. We've met with people personally. We have over 3,000 people that have signed our petition opposing this project. You may have seen blue ribbons. If you'd like one, we'll happy to give you one to say that you're concerned about the project. We've had people up and down Long Island who are recreational kayakers who love to come every year and kayak on the inlet, and they voice their concerns about the project.
So our website is out there. It's at the bottom here. You can scan that QR code. And thank you very much. We'll turn it over to Louise Harrison.